you got the opportunity to actually drive the RB7 on Kyalami. What is the new track like, and what was that experience for you?
Well, for me, I think the track is world class. It's got everything a race driver wants, which is high-speed challenge, elevation change. When you look at the current Grand Prix drivers, if you ask them their favourite circuits, there's no surprise. It's places like Spa, it's places like Zandvoort, places like Suzuka, where there is that elevation change, because it just gives you that other dimension when you're driving a Grand Prix car. So I've been here before on Kyalami several years ago with the Top Gear Live festival that happened, and we had Jody Scheckter jump in the car, which was great to see, you know, a local hero, a world champion from the past, driving what was a modern car at that time. So we're ready to come here. We just need some signatures on papers between officials, and Formula One would come.
Tell us a little bit about all the stunts that happened this week, because I know the media have been looking at Red Bull's social media, and to see the car being airlifted across Joburg skyline. I mean, you've been involved with Red Bull for years. Stunts like this really are something special.
Yeah, like I've done all sorts of weird and wonderful things with Red Bull since, well, during my time as a race driver in retirement. And this is why I think you know, Red Bull do more than any other Formula One team for the sport, because they take the car to the people, into areas where they don't either have a Grand Prix right now or have never seen a Grand Prix car. So yeah, whether it's, you know, doing donuts on the helipad of the Burj Al Arab in Dubai, or driving across, you know, Jordan and going to Petra, and so many wonderful things we've done. So I think we've basically been on sand, we've been on snow. I think Max drove at Kitzbühel on the ice there. The only thing we haven't done is drive on water, but I'm sure we could probably manage that as well. They do it with the motocross bikes, don't they? Where they put some special tires on. But yeah, look, it's great. I love the opportunity for us to go to different places, and people get to hear what Formula One is.
Aras, I think this also leans quite nicely into you, because you've been a Red Bull athlete for many years. How has it kind of, you know, helped your career and helped you grow as an athlete?
Yeah, it was a game changer actually, because I didn't ever thought my bike will take me so many places, you know, and meet so many great people, you know, around the world. So I'm really delightful and excited about this journey, you know. And with help of Red Bull, yeah, I can do stunts in such events like MotoGP, Formula One, and during the Red Bull Showruns. And to be honest, in those 12 years with Red Bull, they every time surprise me. Like flying the F1 car in Joburg, it's unbelievable, you know, like these things you see in person, it's crazy actually. I love it.
Elias, you've driven a little bit of this track yesterday. I don't know if you've taken the car out yet, but I did see you on a golf cart. It's very entertaining to see Formula One drivers, spin drivers on a golf cart racing each other down Catherine Street. What are we expecting from this track? Maybe if you have some challenges, things that people need to look out for on Catherine Street.
So yeah, the track is actually the track that has the most elevation changes for me, doing like multiple showruns already. So this is definitely one small challenge for us as drifters. The other thing, we actually had a quick test run yesterday, and it was quite dusty still. So we had to adjust a little bit to the grip, but that's all part of the game. And yeah, the other thing is, it's amazing that so many grandstands are actually there. And what our aim is always to put on a show for each and every person. So to stretch the show as wide as we can. And I think, like, yeah, what you can look out for, we normally try to really present the sport of drifting, which you normally do qualification runs on your own, so one car by itself, and then we go into the tandem runs where there's two cars, and we have multiple shows, and you will probably see that we start with the qualification, then go into tandem, and then yeah, just bring up the intensity a little bit. So there's always this build up, and I think this is what normally works quite well, because as soon as two cars are close together, you actually realize it's not just like, yeah, hooligans going full throttle, it's like precision needed. The same with the spinning.
Yeah. SamSam, this is your first event as a Red Bull athlete, and I think us as South Africans, spinning holds a very special place in our heart because it's so entrenched in our culture. You're not alone out there today, and I think that's also what makes it quite special.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought that a kid who started spinning at the age of 12 would be one day sitting in front with professional athletes like this who I'm with right here. I mean, for me, it's a dream come true actually. I'm super excited to be part of the team. And yeah, as you said, I'm not alone. I'm followed by my fellow spinners, Sunesh, Faiki and Kayla, one of the best also in the game. So my spinners are ready to give all the spectators for today a great show. So I can say that all the spectators are going to be here. I mean, 20,000 people actually, 25,000 people to be exact, is a large number. And for us as spinners, we used to spinning for about 3,000 people, 4,000 people. So having 25,000 spectators watching us spinning, yeah, that's just something different, and we're ready to give it all.
Do you still get nervous when you go out there? Is it still, because I saw the guys running on the track this morning and they were laying down a little bit of rubber. Do you still get a little nervous?
Well, I had a few practice runs yesterday. I can say that I do feel a bit nervous, but I mean, it all goes away after the first lap. Yeah. So after the first lap, everything was okay, and then we had a few practice runs today. Mm-hmm. Everything should be okay.
What does it feel like to be, welcomed into the Red Bull family? This is a massive deal for spinning as a sport and for your career as an athlete.
Yes, as I've said, I'm super excited. For me, I've said it's a dream come true as well, and for the spinning community as a whole. I mean, it's an open door for even other spinners also to actually grab the opportunity. And it's not only for myself only, but the spinning community as a whole has actually won. Spinning, as you've said, is a big motorsport in South Africa. It's got a large following, and it's still growing. So everything is just going on the right track.
Perfect. David, your prediction, are we going to get a Formula One in South Africa?
Well, I very much hope so. We've been asked a lot about it as we travel around the world, and all the drivers who are the most public voices, to have a true world championship, you should be on this continent, one of the biggest continents. So I believe in the interest and the desire, and if the people that need to put signature on paper can find an agreement, then yeah, we're ready to come. We've seen in other countries where whether it's using an existing venue or whether it's building a bespoke venue, they can move very quickly. So sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned. I'm getting old, so we need to move.
Don't worry. Like I said, when I met you a couple of years ago, you still look exactly the same. Don't worry. There was a couple of questions. I was chatting to some of the media guys earlier, specifically about the car that we have here. Talk to us about the RB7. It's obviously got a long history in Formula One, driven by Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel. Talk to us a little bit about the car.
Yeah, look, for me, it's an honour to drive the car. It's a world championship car. Formula One consistently and continually evolves in terms of regulation, so you'll see it's a little bit smaller than the current Grand Prix car. But that was state-of-the-art in class of its field at that time, and it was a winning machine. So it's a beautiful little car to drive. Obviously, we don't go as fast or on street runs as we would around a racetrack, but it still, I think, gives people a real flavour of what a Grand Prix car is. We're not set up to do stoppies and wheelies and spinning and drifting. But we can make some noise, and we can do some burnouts and some donuts and things like that. So, it's a privilege for me to drive that car and represent the team here.
What's quite different about this one in comparison to the cars that are on track at the moment is this is still a V8. If you'd gone to a Formula One race maybe recently, it doesn't have that sound.
Yeah, no, the current Grand Prix cars are V6 hybrid turbos, and of course when you shove a turbo on a car, it suppresses the exhaust a little bit, so it's a different noise. It's still a sweet noise when you have a turbocharged engine, but it's not the loud, raw noise that you get from a V8 Formula One engine. So anyone who's living around here, who's trying to have a sleep in. They're going to be woken by the noise, that's for sure.
Perfect. At this point in time, because I know I don't want to keep you guys too long, I'm going to open up questions to the floor. Okay, you got your hand up first, so might as well.
SamSam, what does this do in promoting South Africa as a country and promoting sports in the country? And is there a lot of females in the sport? And do you think there could be more females?
I can say spinning is actually a male-dominated sport, but yes, we do have females coming in, the likes of Kayla, Stacy, and yes, so we do have females also coming in the sport. So it's a sport that can be done by both males and females.
Is there sort of maybe a bit of training or like an academy, or is that something that maybe we'd look at in the future in order to encourage more drivers, not even just females, but of both genders?
Well, currently there is an academy by Magesh Academy, so where spinners, actually people who want to spin can go get training and become a spinner. But then also we also wish that we can actually have a bigger academy where it can be open, like for everyone to be able to access it. And also an academy is not only just an academy that we need, but also we need maybe something like cars that we can use for training, because currently if someone wants to spin, then they have to use your car. So it would be better to have an academy that provides cars for training. So it's something that the spinning industry actually is looking forward to have in the near future.
And I think it's also great that you have a platform like this to showcase the sport and showcase how we can grow it.
Yeah, definitely. As spinning being the biggest sport in South Africa, so yeah, we're actually looking at other opportunities to actually grow the sport further. Yeah.
Cool. Next question. All right, gentlemen with the hats.
Good morning, gentlemen. We're from News from Africa. Just because we're already just on Sam's side, Sam, black or pool as a sport for a very, very long time, when we're sort of covering it, you got some people that had the stigma that, for example, it was just a tavern sport. But then, they had to be taught over the years. Have you had, as a community on your side, had to sort of teach and try to train the community on certain stigmas, especially when it comes to how dangerous the sports is? It's sports where, they're spinning these type of cars. So it's sort of referenced with that. Are there certain stigmas that you, especially at the time now where it's been endorsed by the ministry, using this opportunity to train the community, especially the parents as well, and in killing those type of stigmas? And quickly, just to David, you had the opportunity to meet with the Minister of Sport at the back of the question of the F1 coming to South Africa in future. If you had 3 bullet points that you could give the Minister in terms of the things that you need to have in place as an advisor, what would those be to make sure, you need these 3 bullet points to make sure that this comes to South Africa, and 2, it comes and becomes successful on the African continent?
SamSam, shall we start with you?
Yeah, as mentioned, as spinning started in the 90s, it used to be referred to as a sport for gangsters. Yeah, because they were doing it all over in the streets. But now, along the years, spinning has grown to actually being done in protected arenas, like safe. So over these years, people are now starting to understand what spinning is actually about. Spinning is a sport that actually brings different types of people to actually just enjoy. So what I wish could happen is that most spinners, or all spinners, just keep it away from the street, because mostly that is what actually gives the community that type of idea that this is a dangerous sport, this is a sport for gangsters and all. But then if we keep it safe, in a safe environment, it can give a different angle of what the spinning is actually about.
Cool. David?
Yeah, so it was great to have the opportunity to talk with Gaten out at the racetrack. The 3 things you need is obviously a FIA approved facility, which is for the racetrack to get that. You need an agreement between the local government and Formula One. And then the third thing is, there is no third thing, because the people will come. There is enough motorsports enthusiasm in the country, and also, more importantly, people will travel from abroad. So we see it in every country we go, the amount of people that fly in from other countries who are fans of the sport, who are curious to not only see the Grand Prix, but to go to the country and discover about that. So, history has shown that yes, there's an investment up front, but that is returned multiple times because you grow your tourism community around that time. So we should be here. I know some other African countries have been talking with Formula One. It's a big enough continent that we could have more than one Grand Prix like we have in America. But this is not the time to hesitate. This is the time to commit, and then we'll be here.
Cool. And then I'll cycle back. Yes, your question, Nima? Yes, you. Yes.
David, again. So on Friday night it was announced that the WTRC is coming to South Africa as well next year.
World Rally Championships? Yes.
Yes, World Rally Championships. So they're coming to South Africa in May. Do you think that will help to kind of, support everyone coming back to South Africa as well?
Well, motorsport, the motorsport family, we may have individual disciplines, individual formulas, but we're all one big family, and the technology that is used in individual disciplines, there's crossover as well. So the World Rally Championship is fantastic. What they do as drivers, I think, is it's a mix of everything that's sitting up here. So I've got such admiration. I had an opportunity to go with Cali, Rovenpera, sorry, excuse me, my pronunciation, earlier last year in Sardinia, and it was the most impressive and most frightening thing I've ever done in my life. I had absolute trust in his skills, but even the best make a mistake, and I was just seeing trees with my name on it. But thankfully we got up and down the run, and I would come here to watch them do the rally. So you've got one tourist coming.
Go for it.
David, how do you think the Red Bull Showrun will inspire local motorists and future talent in a country like South Africa?
Yeah, well, I think just coming off what SamSam said, if anything inspires people to do all of their pushing the limits in safe environments, going to racetracks, doing driving events, going to karting events, wherever the facilities are where you can do and practice the spinning, and it's not for the roads. None of the speaking on behalf of the Formula One community, none of the Grand Prix drivers are sort of big risk takers on the road. They really abide by the rules and regulations. And one of the great things, I think, just coming back to what the gentleman asked, Formula One is really promoting now women in the sport, whether it's in driving, whether it's in engineering. There's a number of leading roles that are fulfilled as well. So I think there's so much good that comes out of this industry. We're a technology industry, so you don't need to be particularly into the driving side, but there's so much that opportunity there for young boys and girls to work towards and be involved in the sport in the future. And it's a global sport. When the Grand Prix is on, the next race is in Austin, the world will be watching. So very few sports really give you that global footprint every 2 weeks or sometimes every weekend. Things like the Olympics and the World Cup, they do, but they happen every 4 years.
Question down there.
Hi guys, so great to have you here. Bhavna Governor, sports presenter on Lotus FM. My question is for you, David. It's a throwback question. I've watched you from young racing, and you're a legend. I just want to know, how does it feel to race with two other legends, Michael Schumacher and Mika Häkkinen, in your days? Thank you.
Well, I wish I didn't race against them because they were very good. And the reality is they were a little bit better than I was. But I dreamed of one day competing at the highest level. Formula One was the highest level of single-seater racing, and part of that is to want to compete against the best and know where you come out. So Michael still is the most successful driver in terms of world championships, in equal with Lewis Hamilton, of course, who's taken the other records like wins and poles and everything to the next level. But the next generation should always be better. Anyone who's a parent, you want your children to be better than you. and so therefore records should be continually broken through evolution of humans. But yeah, look, I've got Mika's a friend. We live very close to each other in Monaco. We do quite a few events together. I'm still annoyed at how quick he was, but I have a lot of admiration for him, and yeah, he's a good guy.
Do you ever see like who can barbecue a chopper quicker than the other, or do little fun things like that?
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because when we were all competing, everything was a competition. You were always kind of watching each other to try and see if you could train a little harder or ride the bicycle a bit faster. But in retirement, I think all of that has left us, and now we just, there's a genuine sort of brotherhood, if you like, of respect, and yeah, we're more likely to sit down and drink a beer and eat a burger than be doing competition.
Cool. Okay, cool. Question over there.
Tando from SABC News. David, a couple of questions. Firstly, the emotion of taking over from a Nathan Senna, for example, when you basically replaced him as a Williams driver. And secondly, the journey you've traveled with Adrian, because I remember speaking to you in Cape Town and you said you started working with Adrian way before Formula One. Seeing you guys start Red Bull and taking it to the top, and then at some point, the journey has to end with him. Can you give us some pointers on that? And lastly, having show runs around the world, the importance of that, because there's only 23 weekends in a calendar where people can race. But Formula One has to be taken to bigger and other avenues around the world. Tell us about the importance of such events.
So first of all, with Ayrton, I was very lucky when I was a young test driver to work with Nigel Mansell, Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna, three of the great world champions of that era. And there's no question that Ayrton was more than a Grand Prix driver. He had presence that I never experienced in anyone before. If he would enter a room, slowly the room would fall silent. He was a pretty special guy. So in terms of being promoted from test driver to race driver, there was no way I could replace him. He was irreplaceable, but all I could do in his honour was give 100%. So throughout my career, I always gave the best that I could, and it didn't always work out. But that was, my tipping of my cap to his legacy. In terms of Adrian, I've worked with him my entire career, and he has played a huge part in the development of Red Bull Racing. I think the fact that he stayed with the team longer than he stayed with any other team is testament to the family, the environment. The leadership under Mr. Matiships was one about creating opportunity and empowering you to get on and do the job. So in many ways, I guess it's inevitable, in the same way that a sports person's career doesn't last forever. And in the case of Adrian, he's seeking a new challenge. I'll wager that he won't spend 17 years with Aston Martin at his age. I actually was rather hoping he would get on his sailboat and go and enjoy all the spoils of his success, but clearly he's still motivated to keep designing. And Red Bull will have a good team of people that are in place, of course, that were part of his design squad to see if they can continue to compete at the highest level. And the last question, I believe, about showruns, I think this is why, not because I'm sitting here with a Red Bull shirt on, but just sincerely, I think the Red Bull do more for promoting motorsport and creating opportunity for young athletes across the board, whether it's in what you could refer as sort of niche sports like spinning, because that hasn't developed in Europe, I believe, in the same way, but through promoting local markets and creating opportunity for publicity. The world is so connected today. I've got no doubt that we'll see spinning in Europe in the future. And I think that there's an appetite for motorsport beyond just the 24 races, and that's why Red Bull do all the events they do, and Formula One are looking to do more events away from Grand Prix and more shows and things that keep people engaged and feed the appetite for the fans to get access to Formula One. And I'm a fan. I happen to have one of the best seats in the house for 15 years, but in the end I'm just the little boy watching it on television back in Scotland. I'm just a slightly older boy, now, but still watching it on television. And in my role today, I talk about it. And, you know, of course, I would say, if a driver makes a mistake, I'll say I wouldn't have done that. But the truth is, I probably did. So, but yeah, I think it's a great sport. It's a global sport, which is a wonderful thing to be part of.
Great. Hilton of Social TV, we talk about good stories about South Africa and the opportunities that all kinds of industries create for us. Like Red Bull is, over the years, have almost planted the seed for the shade that you will not sit under. In 20, 30 years' time, when we produce more Sams and David Coulthards. In a previous life, we started F1 in schools in South Africa because we realized that around one driver, there's about 300, 400, 500 jobs. And we have a massive youth unemployment. How does this, and bringing the F1 to South Africa, how many jobs is there around you, a specific guy? And perhaps that goes to everyone.
Guys could all,
everyone could answer that. And what would that picture look down the line, 15 years down the line? If the minister was crazy, you know, he got his position because of the spin. You know, just your answer to that. You know, today is really planting the seed of that tree that will produce shade and the opportunities for young. So it'd be great to get a good comment on that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, well, and thank you for what you've done to help support, you know, that growth. But in a Formula One team today, there's 2,000 employees that are building the two cars. But it's not just about the two cars going to 24 Grand Prix. The technology arm of Grand Prix teams are selling that technology or sharing that technology with other communities, other businesses. You know, the automotive companies that are in Formula One, like your Ferraris and your Mercedes and what have you, you know, we have the most fuel efficient engines in the world today. That goes into the road cars of the future. So there's many examples of how the sport isn't just about the entertainment on track, but it's actually driving change in communities. You know, 2026, we're going to have half of our propulsion will come from the electrical element of the engines. We'll have 100% biofuels. You know, the industry is targeting net zero in 2030, and it will achieve its goals because it always does. Because failure is not an option in our industry. So, you know, we have 24 immovable deadlines around the world. 2 o'clock or 5 o'clock, whatever time the race starts, it starts, and everyone's on the grid. So it breeds a culture of people getting things done. And, you know, this is a, you know, rich country of ideas, intelligence, and creativity. And I'm sure they would create jobs, opportunity around it. And if you have a permanent facility, then like we have at Silverstone, you end up having a university there, which is teaching the young kids, you know, different roles, whether it's in electronics, whether it's in design, whether it's in the manufacturing side. And that's creating jobs for the future, because that's your greatest asset, is your people. So, you know, I heard that there's a lot of unemployment here, and I'm sorry for that. But, you know, there's going to be, you know, a lot of talent within that unemployment that needs to be engaged.
Maybe to add in here, like I'm actually an aerospace engineer, and I worked in motorsport before I actually became a drifter. And I really liked the vibe in motorsport because, as David said, it's 24 deadlines you have to meet, and it's not about who you are or who you come from. If you have the solution, then it's good. And this is all about the solution, I say, in motorsport. It doesn't matter if you're tall, if you're small, if you're black, white, green, whatever. It's about the solution. And this vibe in motorsport is something that I've never seen in any other industry, and that's why I'm still in it, and I like it. And it doesn't matter if you run a multi-million F1 car, or if you run a, I don't know, 20 grand drift car or a 5K spinning car. It's all the same vibe. Like, you go out and you enjoy it, and there's so much more around it, which I also see. And coming back to like what possibly can happen with spinning in South Africa, we had more or less the same situation with drifting in Central Europe. It was perceived as like a dangerous hooligan sport, like, and when we started back like over 15 years ago, it was more or less the same situation. And by getting more awareness for the sport, getting Red Bull on board, giving us wings, and the sport wings, actually, as you also said, it's more than for you, it's for the sport, it's for the whole community. And by doing so, like, there's there's how you say, yeah, there's just that much energy inside, and you all of a sudden get motivated people for something. And out of that, I think, as you said it very nicely in your question, planting the seed for the tree that actually gives shade, and the tree can grow very, very big. And in our case, like I'm doing it for quite a while, and I'm also looking now for the next generation, and always looking how we can even grow the sport. And Europe now has reached a huge level for drifting. Like I'm super proud, and I'm super happy and humbled that I'm still alive, and hopefully see the next journey of spinning in South Africa and out of the borders of South Africa, because I think spinning has also like the ingredients to get really big.
I think also, maybe, and Aras, you can come in on this one, is we were talking a lot about four wheels. There's also the opportunity for a MotoGP or something within the two-wheel space to come to South Africa.
Yeah, I hope so, because you have a very good example at Brad Binder, you know. He went all the way to Spain, and now he's a MotoGP rider, and he's a very good rider actually. So if you follow his steps, you know, so maybe more people from South Africa could participate in such a level. So yeah, it's really nice to see how big the motorsport here, and how many fans, and how good you can do in the global scene.
We had a question at the back there behind the light. I see a hand.
DC, this one's for you, just bringing it back to females in motorsport. We have the F1 Academy. You understand the extremities of being an F1 driver. How far are we from getting a female in the F1 seat?
Well, we know from all the research there's no physical or mental reason why women can't compete at that level, and there just hasn't been the numbers. You know, historically, there's been thousands of young boys going into karting, and there's been a handful of young girls. But that is changing. You know, my son is racing karts in the UK. He's racing this weekend, and there's probably 10 girls now racing throughout the various formulas. You know, when I grew up, there was maybe one. So what I'm personally involved in is a foundation called More Than Equal, which is identifying young girls globally and giving them the support that a Max would have had from his father, or a Lewis would have had, or Charles, whoever your favourite driver is, and trying to guide them through their development. And it's that teenage years that's the really crucial era. If anyone who's got teenagers, you'll know that's the difficult time, when they're going from young girls to women, or from young boys to men. And that's when sometimes people who've got great talent suddenly get distracted or lose their focus. So we're believing that in the next decade we should be able to guide some of the great talent towards Formula One. And of course, the Formula One team, if they had a fast woman in their team, would be delighted. You know, that's like a marketing dream, as well as ultimately it's a stopwatch game. So it's not about tokenism, it's about being fast enough. And I believe that in my lifetime we will see that.
I think also what's quite nice for you guys to know is that during Showrun today there'll be a number of activities that are happening in terms of on the track between the runs, and there's a lot of women that are actually South African drivers that are going to be participating. So Fabian Lance is going to be driving one of the carts, Kayla's in one of the spin cars, there's another female driver in one of the production vehicles. So keep an eye out when you're having a look at the track today. There's really going to be great representation of South African female drivers on the track today as well. There was a question over there with the white shirt. Just scream.
Okay, Poppy from BBC.
Poppy from BBC. I've got a follow-up question to DC. What pointers can you give to aspiring drivers in Africa? And what do you think is the key thing that challenge scouts look for in a driver?
Well, you definitely got to get out in a kart as soon as possible. And the key thing that people look for is the stopwatch. It's about speed. And raw speed. Whenever you see young kids, it's always amazing when you put them in little fun karts. Instinctively, they know how to correct the steering. It's just part of human beings. It's almost like it's been part of us, for so long. but you're looking for the ones that obviously have the speed and the work ethic and the focus. In the end, you know, there's a lot of talented people out there, but it comes down to those that are prepared to work hard and develop that talent.
Okay, cool. One down here.
Hey guys, thank you again for coming to South Africa for all our foreign guests. I think the sentiment's been shared already that Red Bull are at the forefront of bringing these motorsports to the general public and people that don't normally have access to them, but Elias and Aras. In terms of the sports we're talking about today, I think drifting and stunt bikes are probably of the more recent. So from when you guys started to now and in the next couple of years, how much has that evolved and how big has how much of a part has Red Bull been in developing that?
Yeah, so basically when I started, let's say in 2008 as a professional stunt rider, it was really hard to find the parts for the bike, and really it was hard to get information what you need to build a stunt bike, you know. And since then it's so much easier. Now you have a bunch of websites, online shops, you know, where you can just literally go online and check if they have something for your bike, and most probably they have most of the parts, you know, you need. And for sure with Red Bull, with showruns, it helped a lot for younger guys. They see me coming and doing shows in front of his, you know, home crowd, and like it gives a motivation for them to also go to the stunt spot and go every day, right, training for like 4 days a week or like 5, even more, you know, like, and being able to you know, like jump on the big scene and ride with Red Bull and be supported from the brands like KTM and maybe some other motorcycle brands. I mean, it's a big thing for the stunt riding, because globally it's not really massive sport, but these brands like Red Bull and KTM gives a massive support for us, and we are really appreciating.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to us as a drift team. So when we started, I said it before, the perception of drifting in Central Europe was basically parking lot, middle of the night, some guy tries to drift and crashes into a lamp pole. So this was the perception of 99% of the people. And when Joe, my brother, and myself fall in love with the sport of drifting, we instantly realized this is a motorsport, this is a proper motorsport. You need to have the right equipment and so on, prepare all this. And it was so like, it felt so wrong that still the perception was this picture. And so becoming or working together with Red Bull, they realized the potential of the sport instantly, and then they said, okay, now let's start to grow the sport. And this was exactly what we've done. And the best example, like one of the first events when we became Red Bull athletes, was basically having 2 drift cars on a Grand Prix track back at the Red Bull ring, doing a drift show at the actual F1 Grand Prix. And this was unheard of. And this was for us, it was for us and the sport, this was the first step. And now being able to also participate in all the showruns gives us the opportunity, as I said before, to show our sport of drifting to new audiences that never have come to a drift event before. But like obviously the F1 is the biggest motorsport in the world, and that's why all the people are there, and we have the chance to participate on that and just be part of the world of Red Bull and this huge motorsport. So this is brilliant in my eyes, and as I said before, I'm so looking forward of the journey of spinning now.
Yeah, because it's going to take the same path, so.
Yeah, no, most definitely, as Elias has said, that even drifting started the way that South African spinning was actually looked at by the community. So definitely spinning is going to take the same path as what Elias had to go through. So yeah, it's a big opportunity for spinning industry.
Question down here.
Sorry.
Looking at you, bro.
Sorry. David, just on Kyalami again, having gone around it on Friday, and with your vast experience of other track layouts, it's currently sitting at a grade 2 FIA. What does it need? Where, from a technical and safety standard, does it need to improve to get to the grade 1 for MotoGP and Formula 1?
Yeah, that's a great question of which I'm not qualified to answer. I can only imagine it's certain runoff areas, because in terms of the track, it's a fantastic track. It's challenging. You've got blind corners. You've got high speed to corners. The elevation change. You know, there's not one corner on the track that you would say that's not particularly good. You know, they all have their unique challenge. So I personally would have loved to have raced in Kyalami as it sits. We go from Monte Carlo, Baku, Singapore, somewhere else probably I'm forgetting, where there's no runoff, and we go to modern facilities where there's so much runoff the spectators can hardly see the car. So in my mind, there must be a middle ground where the FIA can say, is there enough impact structure to mean that if a car has throttle sticking and brake failure, that there will be sufficient, you know, impact absorption to give a high likelihood that there won't be an injury. Then that can only be a question of barriers. I'm sure from a Formula One point of view, there would be things like, well, how many spectators can we get there, and all that sort of good stuff. But none of that is insurmountable. Look, they've built grandstands here for this event. So, you know, that's just a question of where there's a will, there's a way.
Question behind the light. Oh, here. Here we go.
Hi gentlemen, Candice Naidu from Supersport. So with Red Bull continuously pushing the envelope and doing the most amazing creative things like having the car suspended and all sorts of wonderful and weird things, does that fuel your creativity coming into a show run? Because obviously when you see a helicopter carrying a Formula One car, you'd want to now push the envelope, pull something out of the hat when you're doing your show run stunts.
Your SamSam's going to get lifted and dropped into the car. Who wants to take this one?
Well, when you talk about the car being under a helicopter, when we did the Burj Al Arab helicopter pad in Dubai, I wanted to be in the car as it was being helicoptered to the pad, but health and safety wouldn't allow it. So whatever we want to do, we need to do it quickly, because the world is slowly becoming such an environment that we need to, we take all the risk getting to this building, then we need to watch a video to know how we should leave the building. By the way, when you leave this building, you're on your own. There's no video to tell you how to get home. Good luck, everybody.
That's actually a really great question, and I want to add to it, SamSam. You come up with some of the most amazing tricks and stunts. I mean, you're a back-to-back Shay'iMoto champion, and your stunts, when I explain to someone who SamSam is, I say he's the guy that took his guitar out and played on his car. How do you come up with those things? How do you formulate it, and are we going to see any of those special stunts today?
Well, you know, every time I go to competitions and different events, well, I just try to bring an element that's to add onto my performance that's just going to cheer the crowd up, you know. It's always important to just bring something up that has never been seen before in spinning. So that's what I try to look at in all my performances. So like what happened, and that was 2021, if I'm not mistaken, that guitar. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I brought up the guitar, like, no one was expecting that. Yeah, and the last Red Bull in Cape Town.
You made a boot.
Yeah, I exited through the boot, which wowed the crowd. Like everyone went crazy. So yeah, as I've said, that every time when I do a performance, I just try to edit unexpected element to my performance. Yeah.
Do you want to give us a hint of what we're getting today?
Well, I won't say much. I just say. Everyone should just keep their eyes wide open when they go in.
Let me see. Oh, one behind the light over there. Yes.
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Tato. I'm from EWN Sports. So we talked a little bit about perception of particularly spinning, and also some of the job creation that can come with this amazing initiative that you guys are taking. However, I want to talk a little bit about access. I want to talk about us not forgetting the kid that's perhaps in Mpumalanga or in the Eastern Cape. Is there something that you guys are perhaps planning in order to make sure that even a kid who's in the Eastern Cape and a kid who's in Mpumalanga knows that they have access to become a superstar in motorsport? Because for the most part in South Africa, we really struggle to get kids, especially from a young and developing age, into particular sports. And motorsport has been a niche sport for for us South Africans for the most part. So is there anything from Red Bull's side where you guys are actively trying to make sure that everyone in this country has access to whatever you guys are trying to achieve in the next 10 years?
Well, firstly, I'd like to say with the minister also coming in the spinning sport and trying to just make it an official sport, I believe that there's actually going to be a lot of opportunities as to what you've mentioned. A lot of opportunities are going to come for a kid down there in Mpumalanga, a kid in the Eastern Cape. As soon as spinning is official, we definitely going to have what we spoke about earlier, like spinning facilities and all that. So therefore, everyone who wishes that one day they can become like a SamSam or like a Sunesh or whatever that they wish to become, I think that's going to open a lot of doors and opportunities for anyone that's out there willing to become something like their role model that they're looking at. So I believe that together with the Red Bull, as they've done now with me joining the Red Bull team, that's something that in the future there are definitely going to be other people also that we're actually going to be looking at to say that, you know what, this guy's got the potential and all that. So definitely there's something that's going to happen in the future, yes.
Okay, we've got, is that the last question, Matt? 2 more after this. All right, cool.
Okay, question to SamSam. Do you ever see yourself competing in the Olympics, and do you see spinning being an Olympic sport one day? I mean, if breakdancing could be there, spinning
It's waiting for that.
Well, I'd say that the sport is growing. The way it is now, I mean, there's more places that spinning can touch. So therefore, it will not only end right here in South Africa. Spinning is going to enter into different places. So therefore, yeah, I believe so.
One last question. 1, 2, and then done.
SamSam, this one's for you as well. With regards to spinning becoming a sport now, we've seen a lot of fight back from spinners not wanting to compete because, you know, it's a very informal sport and we're not yet sure of how we're going to judge the competition, and a lot of spinners feel that the judging is unfair, which has caused a lot of spinners such as Katra to pull out of the Red Bull Shay'iMoto competition because of politics. What advice can you give young spinners? Should they buy into this thing and not give any fight back? What advice can you give them? You've now obviously become a professional athlete.
Well, I can say it has happened to me as well. At one point, I told myself that, you know what, I'm not going to be part of any competition. But then I then said and said, look, I'm in this for the fun of it. I'm in this for like myself. So I went in and I joined the competition regardless of all the politics and stuff, just to be part of it. I won 2 times. I went to Cape Town, and then I lost in Cape Town. But then I didn't take it personal. I mean, it's a sport. We're in there like for bending rubber and all that. So I'd like to say that to all my fellow spinners, they mustn't take like everything personal. I mean, it's a sport. Come in, guys, enjoy. One day you'll be up, one day you'll be down, but we still move forward. Yeah.
If I might add my perspective on this, like, because spinning and drifting have something in common, not so much, but in drifting also, like, one of the biggest names in drifting is Mike Widett from New Zealand, and he actually, I think he won like 1 or 2 championships, and other than that, he hasn't won much. Like, don't get me wrong, he's an incredible driver, but he set himself different goals, what he wants to be, and he wanted to always be the most exciting driver out there. Even if he went out in top 32 the first round, people still remembered him, and I think in the spinning it's more or less the same. If you have this one trick that like half of the crowd likes, you're still this guy who pulled out the guitar one time, or you left the booth, and this is what I think you should enjoy what you do, and you should, there's only one winner in the end, always. And if only one person is happy, then it doesn't make sense in my eyes. So just enjoy what you do, and take the opportunity, because in F1 there's just a stopwatch, And if you're not the fastest, you're not the fastest. But in spinning and drifting, there's more. And I see it as a big opportunity.
Yeah. Last question.
Good morning, guys. Dylan here from LW Mag. I just wanted to know from all four of you, actually, just can you maybe walk us through a little bit what it's like going on behind the scenes mentally before you perform in front of thousands of people? I'm sure there's lots of us that want to know what that feels like. Can you just walk us a little bit through the thought process behind what it feels like as you're about to start?
Yeah, so basically, you know, the journey starts way back then when I started actually, and during all the days when I'm practicing, you know, with my bike, I gain a lot of confidence, which travels with me to all the showruns, all the events. And basically, these kind of showruns, you always have a lot of improvisation, at least from my side, because we do a lot of, let's say, stunts together with Ellie, and we go out on the track and we see, okay, what we can do here on this layout, and next weekend we go and see another layout, you know, and like we are improvising. So sometimes you can feel like it's just the 10 minutes of talking, but actually behind the scenes, it's been like 15 years of practicing every day, you know.
Well, I think I've probably got it easier than the others on the stage because it's a bit limited what I can actually do with a Formula One car. It can go straight quite quickly, and it can go around in a donut. You know, we're two-wheel drive, we're not four-wheel drive. We have limitations. So for me, it's just more a case of I've been on the course, I know where I can turn the car around and make some noise. So I think it's probably easier for me than the others who can be a lot more creative, and by the nature of what they are doing, they're working harder than I am behind the wheel.
Yeah, so for us as drifters, like the points where we are out with two cars, it's actually more or less we already know which line we pick, because only by doing so you actually can get really close to each other. Anyhow, you always need to be flexible because things can change. And so, like for me as a driver, I try to make a plan. I also think about things that could happen and could change. And once I'm happy with that, I basically put the plan away and just try to get in my happy spot, get like just activated a little bit. Because yeah, in drifting it's always unstable. You have to correct the car all the time. It's, as David says, it's quite some work. Even like it's not like physical hard work, but mentally hard work. And yeah, then also don't forget to enjoy. This is the most important.
Well, with spinning, definitely you need to be just creative. You need to be creative because everyone spins, but then show the crowd what you can do more. So when you go in the pitch, just you better have an understanding of how the pitch is actually like. So you walk down the track. If there's a track, you see that, I mean, at this point, there's something I can do like this. Other spinners just go in, do whatever they can. But then what I do most of the time is like, I look at the point where someone else hasn't went or someone else hasn't done. So I focus mostly on that. So that's why actually in most cases, my rounds are just different from what other people do, because I focus mainly on what other people aren't doing rather than focusing on what someone else does. So I can say that just be creative, and then yeah, you're good to go.
How's that conversation with you and your co-driver? How does that go down? Your stuntman.
Yeah, well, stuntman, you know, I've been a passenger while other guys were driving. I'm still asking myself how my co-driver survived that, because there's no way I can be a passenger. It's so scary, it's so scary. But then, yeah, the communication between me and my co-driver, we actually communicate just before going, you know what, I'm gonna do this. When I turn this angle, you come out the window, or maybe you come out the roof, and then when you see I'm about to go straight or whatever, you're gonna jump back in. So we already knows, we don't have to actually speak like, hey, do that, no. So you can already feel the car's going this way, it comes in. Feels goes that way, it goes out. So yeah, that's how it is.
Rumor also had it that David was going to replace your stunt driver for a couple of runs. Is that still going to happen?
Yeah, I hope he's ready for that. Yeah? And you must just know that we don't have safety belts.
I trust. You know, I know he doesn't want to get it wrong, so I just follow the instructions.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That brings us to the end of the first half of the press conference. Can we please put your hands together for our amazing Red Bull athletes?